So I'm joined by Susan Whiddington, the Chief Executive of Mousetrap Theatre Projects. Susan, hi.
Hello, hi.
Hello, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. It's a beautiful sunny day. It's cold, but yeah, I'm indoors though, of course.
That's always good being indoors. So I guess really what we all really would like to know to start off with is how did Mousetrap Theatre Projects actually begin?
Okay. I worked for the Society of London Theatre for a number of years, and while I was there, I met a gentleman named Sir Stephen Whaley Cohen, and Stephen bought the production rights for the Mousetrap, that long-running Agatha Christie
Yeah.
show. And when he bought the production rights from Sir Peter Saunders, it was his idea to set up a charity. He thought that it was time that the Mousetrap, this long-running show, gave something back. And he knew that I had a background in running projects for young people, and I was particularly keen about access. And he asked me if I would run it. So in 1997, in May, I set up myself in the dressing room of the St. Martin's Theatre. It was the understudies dressing room, I should add. And it was a teeny little office, and it was just me. And that's the beginning of the story. He was wonderful, though. He gave me an opportunity just to create Mousetrap Theatre Projects. He gave me a white sheet of paper and said, just go do it.
That's fantastic. Um, Actually, just aside from that
Yeah.
question alone, I love the show The Mousetrap. I'm not
Oh,
allowed to obviously tell you who did it
yeah.
because I've been sworn to secrecy. But when we were doing our research for charities, we actually haven't told you this yet, but we pulled up two charities. One was obviously Mousetrap Theatre Projects, and another was Shakespeare Hospice. And I said to Dave, I said, this is before we checked your website, God, that sounds like Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap. And that's immediately what I thought of. And
Yeah.
obviously, it's the same thing. Oh, I love that story. So it was all started out in a little
Like,
understudy. So, Susan, what does Mousetrap Theatre Projects do for the public?
so it started organically, and initially I met with teachers and young people and producers and funders to find out really what this organization should be about, and it was really very organic in that way. And but I got a call one day from David Pugh, who had a play called Art, which you may have seen. It's quite famous play.
Mm.
And he had been a school teacher, and he was very keen that young people see this play. So in March and May and June of 1998, I put on 3 free performances of art for high school students across London. And that sort of set us going. And we still do, obviously, performances. They're not free anymore. We now charge £8 for the tickets for high schools. But we use the same formula where the groups come and there are after show discussions. And it was the mainstay. It's the way in which we really got to know schools and made early connections with young people. Now, of course, each term we offer, when theaters are open, of course, sadly they're not open, but we offer between 6 and 8 different productions, and we'll take 100 to 200 tickets per production. And young people come and see it, and we have after show talks and do in workshops and things like that. So that beginning program is still important to us, but we've grown hugely since then. And the next project we did was a program for families, and we still, after this summer, will be our 22nd year of running this project, where we bring families into the theater who've never been before. And these are families who we identify through social service agencies, charities, community organizations, housing associations. These are families who never thought they could go to the theater, and we take them to the theater for £6 a ticket per family member. And it's truthfully to say, it's life-changing for these families. It's something they thought they couldn't do, they do it. And then we stay in touch with those families ever after, offering them a whole range of other kinds of productions, and even opportunities to go to museums and galleries and concerts. So it's not, once they come with us to see a theater production, we really try to broaden their kind of cultural horizons. And we have about 6,000 families in our database.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And then we also, we run I won't go into it, but we run a huge range of programs in schools, both, as I mentioned, just bringing young people to see a production, but most of our work with schools are much more in-depth projects where everything from playwriting to developing performance skills for understanding how a theater production comes about. And we have a whole range of projects. And what's been really exciting has been that when COVID happened and we had to close our office in the middle of March last year, we really worked hard and we moved seamlessly to online work. And we're doing a lot of in-school, well, it's not in school, but it's schoolwork online. And it's been very successful. And teachers are really happy to have that additional resource to be able to offer to their students. And the other group that we work with, in addition to students and families, is we work with young people in community settings, youth clubs, and we work in places like hospital wards. I mean, wherever young people are, we go there, and we have a whole range of different programs. And this morning at our staff meeting, we were talking about a project that we're running with new refugees, and which has been really very moving. You know, a lot of these young people come together. English certainly is not their first language, but through drama, you can do wonderful things. You can have people be self-expressive and creative, and it's also a way for these young people to meet other people who are in similar situations. So that kind of work is really important. Our mission is to provide an opportunity for young people who wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to see theater, but also to engage with theater. And since theaters have been closed, we're doing obviously much more work in the whole area of drama workshops. And the work has been very moving and very powerful.
It sounds absolutely amazing.
Started with saying that we're about providing opportunities for disadvantaged young people and families to attend theater, but also really engaging with them through drama to help them develop new skills, take some risk, broaden their horizons, and raise aspirations. That's really kind of the in-depth, work that we do. But we're also about just going to see a great production, just sitting in the audience and being wild and being taken away by the magic of theater. And it's so sad right now because theaters are closed. We've done some work with online productions, but there's nothing quite like being in that auditorium. It is a communal experience, and it is, as I think all of us who love theater know, it can be transforming. And
Mamma Mia was the show that changed my life forever. It was the first show that I ever saw in the West End, so I completely and totally understand where you're coming from. And it's such a good idea. If you can't afford, I mean, some of these tickets are so expensive, and if you can't afford it, being able to get it at a good price and go and see it with your family or your friends, that's such an amazing thing to be able to do and experience. And it opens a whole load of other doors, I think, as well.
It
for
does.
Young people.
Yeah, our tickets are somewhere between £5 and £12 for most of our projects. We have some older young people we engage with, and they pay slightly more, about 15. But
yeah.
You're right. So that's one barrier, is the financial barrier. But a real barrier that we don't talk about is that some people feel that, oh, I couldn't go see it. Oh, well, it's not for me. Oh, I wouldn't like it, or I wouldn't know how to do it, or I don't even know how to get my ticket. And so what we see ourselves doing is really helping people break down those barriers and giving them that access and making them feel comfortable and confident to go. And when I was talking about the family program, that's what happens so much, that we hold their hand a bit on that first theater visit. We call them before they come to see the show and say, do you have any questions? And they'll ask, what do I wear? Or what if my child doesn't like it? And we try to, help them through that kind of anxiety. But once they go once, and they have to pick up their tickets at the box office like any other patron, and they have to get to the theater on their own. We don't organize coach loads. But once they go once and they have the confidence to do it, they'll see everything and anything. And it's really, it provides a whole new vista for those families.
Oh, it's amazing. And yeah, theatre just opens up so many doors, and it's such a good idea doing it that way and just making the access a little bit easier and opening it up to them. Okay, so next question. So our fundraiser, That Rocking Bard, how will it support Mousetrap theatre projects? Our target is £300. So, how would that help you?
Well, as you can imagine, during this time, funding is always difficult. But we're, really hoping that theaters are going to be open sometime in the late spring or maybe early summer. So that £300 will help a lot of young people go to the theater. That's what we'll use the money for, to make sure that those young people who never thought they could go, who can't afford it, can go. But the other aspect of what you're doing is that we believe so strongly in the power of theater and the power of words. And obviously Shakespeare is our greatest ever playwright. And to expose people to Shakespeare, maybe who don't know him, is very special. Or to engage people, with those sonnets, and you just never know who's the next great poet, do you? Or who's going to be really moved by the music, of the poetry. And so it really fits with our belief that theater and all that comes with it is such a powerful tool and experience, and that it has lots of ways in which people will engage with it. And you never know. And that's what's so exciting. You never know. It was so wonderful hearing the inauguration, to hear that young poet, for example, Amanda Gorman. I mean, she was 22, and her poetry, I think, took the nation by storm, probably took the world by storm, So
yeah, I think so. She got a lot of talk over here. They talked a lot about her over here. She was like the youngest poet or something at inauguration. So yeah.
And I think so many people, I mean, we will really promote your sonnets to our young people and our families. We really want them to listen and take part in that. And, for so many people, there, again, like there's a fear of theater, there's a fear of poetry, isn't there? People think it's such a, I couldn't read a poem, but when you hear it performed by an actor or or somebody with a wonderful voice,
it's completely different.
Completely different experience.
And there is also a fear of Shakespeare, which is why we went with the title That Rocking Bard, because if we can, although we do have tranquility as an element to it, if we can actually have some more modern upbeat tempo music, we've got animation as well in it, and cinematography and actors. So we're trying to pull several different ranges in order to engage young people, and hopefully their parents and their families and their friends as well.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. And they're just walking through a new door, aren't they? And that's what we opening doors.
Opening doors, and that's what we really like to achieve. So excellent. Oh, good answer. I think you've kind of answered this question already, this next one.
Yeah, okay.
But I'll ask it again anyway. Okay, so what support did Mousetrap Theatre Projects give families and schools during the lockdown periods?
Oh, we've been doing loads. As I mentioned earlier, we went seamlessly, I think, from working, face to face to working online. We started with something called Every Home a Theater, where for 8 weeks in a row, we gave, beginning in April, we gave families a challenge. So challenges were to make a comedy, to do a mystery, to do a musical, to do puppetry. And we had well over 100 families who created these little videos. And the families loved them because it was sort of time out, but time together. And they were imaginative and funny and silly. And you could see the families having a great time. So that was our first kind of engagement with families. We then ran two competitions. We ran a competition called the Monologue Slam, and we had well over 100 young people from across the country doing a monologue. And our patron, Eddie Redmayne, gave them 5 tips, and that was fantastic. And we chose, he helped us choose the finalist. But we really had trouble deciding. They were fantastic. Then we did we called it a Mousetrap musical medley, another competition with singers. Both of these competitions for young people 14 and over. You won't be surprised to hear that for the Mousetrap musical medley, that most of the entries were from young girls, young women, you know. There were very few from young men.
Yeah.
And they were mostly either West End or Broadway musicals. And they were fabulous again. We had, I think, 87 entries. And again, Rachel Tucker, who's in Come From Away,
yeah.
Agreed to help choose the finalist. And she was great.
She's good, yeah.
Oh, she's great. Then we did something called Story Busters. We work a lot with young people with special needs, and I haven't really talked about that, but anyway. And this was a project that we ran. We ran a project for deaf young children between the ages of about 7 and 13 online, where each week we took a different story, and it was signed, but and text. It was captioned as well. And then after the story was read or performed, then we did a workshop looking at that story and what young people could learn from it. And, you know, it was really fabulous. We did our Mousetrap Awards every year. Our youth forum does awards, and this year there were 14 awards, and they range from kind of standard things like, you know, best actor in a musical to things like sexiest cast, or set I'd love to live in, or you know, costume I'd love to wear, you know, a whole range of with their own take on it. And we did that online this year. It was fantastic. We got fabulous cooperation from the winners, people like Sam Tuddy, who was in Dear Evan Hansen, won several awards actually. Everybody was great, and we put it together, and it was quite professional. And the presenters were members of our youth forum. There were 9 members of our youth forum who were the presenters, and it had sort of a running story all the way through. Anyway, go to our website to see it. It was great. We did that. We ran 2 summer schools online. We ran a summer school for young people with special needs. So we did a week with them, and it was a very positive experience for these young people. They did drama work online. And then we also did one with young carers. Young carers are young people who are responsible for caring for a family member. It could be a sibling, it could be a parent, it could be a grandparent. And young carers don't have an easy time, because when other children, you know, are out playing and stuff, they're there working, you know. So we work with 4 different groups of young carers this summer. Mm-hmm. And they did drama. 3 of them did poetry. They did poetry. And they loved it. And each of them wrote their own poem and performed their own poems that we filmed. And then one group did performance skills. And then we went into the autumn programs, and we've been doing a number of playwriting projects and a whole range of other kinds of programs.
Keeping busy and achieving as much as you can, and that's right up our street. We try to do the same. So that sounds amazing. I bet they had fun.
Oh, we had lots of fun, lots of wonderful responses. Yeah, really.
Shakespeare is obviously a big important thing in a lot of people's lives, and it gets studied in school quite a lot. Now, I know that you work with schools as well, don't you? So how will Shakespeare inspire the families, obviously, and schools that you support?
Well, we do quite a lot of work with Shakespeare productions, both with the RSC or the Globe, or the National Theatre, or whoever's doing a Shakespeare. So we end up during the year taking a lot of young people to see Shakespeare. And we also take families in the summer through our Family First Nights program to see Shakespeare productions. But I think what's so powerful about Shakespeare is that, you know, so many people are frightened by seeing a Shakespeare production. They're afraid they're not going to understand it. They're not going to understand the language. And what we find is that if we can get young people or families there, you know, it is very accessible. And because the storyline is usually quite clear. With school groups, of course, we do some work prior to them seeing the Shakespeare production. We talk about, you know, the storyline and maybe look at some famous speeches or things like that. But as we talked about earlier, the power of Shakespeare is, you know, is being in that auditorium and seeing it and just being part of that. And we have so many examples where young people were afraid of it, thought they wouldn't like it, and they fell in love with it, you know, and they do find it accessible. And I think, you know, we're so lucky in the UK. We have so much Shakespeare, and there's so many different ways that it's performed. There's so many, you know, how many King Lears have you seen, you know, with contemporary dress, you know, traditional dress, you know, done in the 40s, you know, and I think that young people, you know, given the opportunity, engage with it. But it's about giving them that chance to engage.
Oh, excellent. No, it's good to know that, you know, our project is going to inspire.
I think there'll be lots of people who will discover. It's a discovery, isn't it? Because again, it's, you know, something that people might think, oh, I don't like poetry. I don't know poetry. I'll find it difficult or, you know, inaccessible, and they won't. You know, they'll get caught up in the rhythm and the language and the, you know, and the voice and
that's our aim.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and we're on to the last thing. So, you know, lastly, Susan, before I let you go, is there a message that you would like to give those who are watching these videos and or are participating in the fundraising?
Well, yes, in the sense that, you know, I think for all charities now, it's a difficult time. So any support that people feel they can give will mean a lot, and we would really appreciate it, because it's not easy right now, and we are continuing to run a whole range of programs with young people and families, and that's important to us to maintain that connection. And but as much as it is about the money, which is lovely, it's really about inspiring young people and inspiring families. And with the sonnets that you're going to be presenting, it's about a cultural enrichment and about, you know, everyone's talking about well-being right now and how difficult it is to maintain a sense of well-being. I mean, I think a lot of young people are really finding it emotionally a difficult time. And something like listening to a beautiful sonnet or just participating in the arts is one of those experiences that lifts people and takes you outside of yourself a bit and takes you to a new world, and is ultimately a good thing to do. You know, it's important that we have diversions from just, you know, thinking about the pandemic, to do things that are enriching and enlightening and are positive and beautiful. And you know, that we need that in our life as much as, maybe more than ever, I think. And as much as the money's important, how wonderful, it's what you're doing, how you're giving people that lift and allowing them to enjoy something that's beautiful and something that they can treasure.
That's an absolutely wonderful message. Thank you. Yeah, and I actually agree with you. Our videos, they're only short videos. I mean, the sonnet only runs at an average of about a minute to a minute and 10 seconds, but it's what you can do in a minute and 10 seconds. And some of them, you know, just match the metaphorical symmetry.
Yeah.
And then some of them actually go and explore the actual translation of the sonnet and actually go with what it's meaning. Obviously, we've got the fair use sonnets, but we don't have a fair use because obviously it is locked down. So we've had to do what we can. And so we introduced a character called the poet that appears in all the voiceover and animated sonnets. And it was going to be, those sonnets are going to be told through the poet's eyes. And then any actors that come in, they will do it in their own style. And we hope that it will just enrich the lives of other people. So, yeah.
We had a really wonderful experience. We did something called, we did a digital advent calendar. Did you hear about this?
Oh, yes, I saw something about that. Yeah.
And, you know, so every day, whoever signed up to it could get a message from someone. They never knew who the message was going to be from. It could be a song or a poem or a silly joke or just a lovely message, you know. So from the 1st of December through the 25th, we had a message every day, and people loved it because part of it was that every day in their mailbox, you know, their inbox, they'd get a little message saying, and today's, you know, open here, you know, for your advent calendar day 12, you know. It was fabulous. And we got such a wonderful response because people need something light and something happy and something good, you know.
Especially at the moment.
Yeah. At the moment, yeah. They need that at the moment.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree. Okay. Which is literally thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, for joining me today and answering all these questions about what you do at Mousetrap Theatre Projects. And I hope that you look forward to the project.
Thank you so much for thinking of Mousetrap Theatre Projects, because I think it's a really natural connection between what we do with young people and families and what you're doing in terms of introducing them to something that they may not be familiar with, that may and should transport them and into a wonderful place. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Susan Whiddington, Chief Executive of Mousetrap Theatre Projects. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Enjoyed it.